Hi Stampin' Friends, it's Chris Slogar from BuckeyeInklings.com, and I wanted to make this video as a follow-up to last week's Facebook Live where we made this favor, and it was sized to hold either one of these Easter treats. And my point with this was I've seen this favor shape all over the internet in all different sizes. I'm not sure who to credit with it, but you don't have to follow the dimensions for any one. You can take your contents and make your box size to fit them, okay? So I knew, let's see, this purple one is just a little bit bigger. This measures about 2.5 inches wide and 3 inches. I'm going to count that as 3 inches long. I'm not counting all this extra packaging because I know that can fit up in these little angled sections. Okay, so with a 2.5 inch by 3 inch treat, I could figure out, the dimension that I needed around the treat. And okay, so the thickness as well, you need to know 1 inch thick in this case. And then the dimensions follow from that. And actually, I have paper to make it with the Share Your Love paper today. This was the Twinkle paper that we used last week. Okay, so I've got a piece of this Share What You Love, and what worked out to fit that size is that we needed to start with a piece of cardstock that was 6 by 7.5. Okay, and the 7.5 size length is going to go all the way around the treat. Okay, so it needed to be scored at 2.5, the width of the treat, and then to 3.5 to add an inch for the depth, and then the back side 6 and another inch depth, 7, and that left a little 1/2 inch tab. Okay, so again, that scoring on the 7.5 inch side was 2.5, 3.5, 6, and 7. All right, then we're turning it the other way. And for the length, I like to go off of the thickness. See, there's these two end sections where you have to score here and here. And for a 1 inch thick box, I make each of these last two sections 3/4 inches wide. So as a rule, I've just been doing whatever the thickness is, and then less 1/4 inch for each of these widths of these scores. Okay, so that translates on the 6 inch side. Then we're scoring at 3/4, 1.5, 4.5, and 5.25. Okay, and then what I would recommend you do in each of these cases to make it easy to see, we're going to have to put a little score in here to help this angle, this little V to form here, but it will make it easier if you burnish all of these score lines first. All right, and then it becomes very obvious which sections you need to help by adding a little score of an angle, for those slanted sections. Okay, so that is the dimension around the treat. And now for the ends, I know this one kind of goes this way. This one kind of goes this way. I'm going to fold in there and back here because I just know when you put the treat together, that's kind of the way you want those folds to go. All right. Now, again, as I said, this wraps the treat this way, and you can easily see which sections are going to be pinched and need help with the slant. Okay, I'm going to open this up. Now, you don't need to do this when you make your box, but just so that you can see them better here, what I'm doing, I am going to mark those sections very clearly. These are the sections that are getting pinched, okay? So keep that in mind, and then this becomes very clear. And when you modify it for different sizes, you'll be doing basically the same thing. Okay, so these 4 sections, we want to add some score lines to help those to fold neatly. Otherwise, they may not crease down the way you want them. So to do that, I'm just picking like a halfway point in this section. Okay, and I'm picking closest to the edge, up there. And I'm going to score, I'm just pressing into a pierce mat and creating a score line. It's not going to be a perfect score. It doesn't have to be perfectly in the middle, but you'll see how nice, Now see, I also scored from that midpoint to the other side. And then from that midpoint straight out to the end. Okay, and we're going to do that in all 4 boxes. And then you'll see how nice, what I was starting to say, how nice these pinches will fold when you go to close the box. I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing on the other side. Again, starting midsection and then connecting that midpoint to the outer edge of the paper. Okay, and I'm not, you can see I'm not measuring to find that midpoint. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. And then all I'm going to do now is close up this box. All right, so where is, okay, on the tab side, and obviously you won't have these horrible looking Sharpie marks. I've added my strong adhesive. And then I'm just going to fold over to create kind of like that tube. And then as you pinch and fold these, where we've created those lines, you're going to get a nice, easy fold there. Okay, this one was not quite a great midpoint, but I can force it a little bit there. And it still looks fine. Okay, and then your choice as to how you want to close that up. You're going to do that on both ends. If you'd like it to be something that you can open, like in this case, I've tied it shut. So let's do that case. I'm going to take sticky strip on one side and tuck it up in that tab here to close this side with sticky strip. So I'm getting close with the sticky strip to that first score line. Need to reveal the adhesive. And then carefully pinch that closed, okay, because that'll be the final closure. And then you can put your treat in there. And then on the other side, I'm going to pinch that shut. Now, as I said on this one, we're going to tie it shut. So I've got my crocodile, and over towards the edge, I'm going to use the larger hole, and I'm punching through 4 layers. So that's why I wanted the crocodile. I'm going to create those holes for... What I have here is the Nature's Twine that has some pretty colors that goes with this paper too. So I'm just going to thread that through, and I've decorated this with a scallop circle and a stamped stitch circle with the Bloom by Bloom stamp set. Okay, so of course, you know, any favor type, any paper or theme, this would be really fun for. I just love these projects that use the designer paper like this. Okay, so you just tie that up, and I would probably play with that bow a little bit, trim the ends. And then, as I said, stamp and add that oval. Okay, so I'm not going to do that part, but that shows you that box. Now, I'm going to go on to make 2 more boxes. So I also have 6x6 paper that I wanted to see what I could do size-wise. So in this case, for my Gingham Gala paper, I came up with these 2 boxes that each start with a 6-inch square of paper. Okay, and I just kind of sized, knowing that I could only go up to 6 inches, and I found some treats that worked well within those constraints. So let me start with this flatter one. Okay, see, they're both the same kind of box as what we did before. And for this flatter version, it's 3/4 of an inch thick. Okay, so to me, that meant my end sections, I wanted each of these to be that 3/4 minus 1/4 inch. So each of these end widths are 1/2 inch, okay, when I go to score. And then I just picked a dimension that added up to 6 going all the way around. Okay, so let me show you this. And all of these dimensions will be on my website too. And I'll have them at buckeyeinklings.com with still pictures. All right, so again, here, I'm going to go with the Highland Heather, and we'll use the smaller plaid kind of to match what we did here. We're starting with a 6-inch square, and our dimensions going around this box. In this case, we're scoring at 2. Okay, so this width is 2. And then we're adding the 3/4 inch depth. And then adding 2 more for the back panel. So that takes us to 4 3/4 and 5 1/2. Okay, so again, 2, 2 3/4, 4 3/4, and 5 1/2. And then for the length, we're turning that and we're going to score. Remember I said I wanted these little end pieces to be 1/2 inch. You could make them longer. I did have this version that I made at first. And these I left at 3/4 inches. You can make a box that way. You can see it just looks a little different. So the main compartment from a 6-inch length is shorter because we've got more out here on the ends. But I like this compact little V section better than this elongated one. So that's why I'm saying whatever your thickness is, it works pretty well if you have these end sections just 1/4 inch less than that, okay? But you can see it works. I mean, it probably works with pretty much any dimensions you can come up with. Okay, so again, I've turned that now, and talking about the length, we're scoring now at 1/2 and 1, and then 5 and 5 1/2. All right, and again, we're going to, we'll burnish all of these score lines. And with the length, I always, I bend in a Z, you know, just kind of following the shape that these will end up in. So once again, here, I'm going to draw this one on too. And then when I do the last one, I won't draw it on. We can see where we need to help that nice little V fold to form. Okay, so once you have, you know, those straight lines scored and you have it folded that way, it's really easy to find these sections that need a little help folding. Okay, and so anytime you're going to do this in any size, you'll just follow this same method. And I've got my pierce mat. Again, approximately halfway point of each one of these little boxes, I'm going to score to each corner and then out to the end. And score. Oh, I think I pushed a hole there. Okay, score a little less vigorously. Score from that midpoint to each corner and then out to the edge. Some people don't score against a pierce mat, and that seems to work fine too. Okay, so I've got my 1/2 inch tab again. I'm going to close up, you know, the length of this tube. And then these will push in very nicely, and they'll want to fold right on those nice little V's that we pressed in there. Okay. So this is the 3/4 inch thick box. I won't go ahead and tape it all shut. So this one I just taped shut on both ends with my strong adhesive, my fast fuse. And this one fit, 4 of these little guys fit right in there. Okay, so that worked out nicely. And then one other size that I'll show you. So you already have these dimensions. You don't have to figure this out. This is for a 1 inch thick box. This is still from a 6 inch by 6 inch square of designer paper. I'm going to take the Highland Heather again. All right, but this time I've got a 1 inch thick box. So I am scoring on the 6 inch side here at 1 3/4, 2 3/4. Okay, so there's the 1 inch thickness, and then 4 1/2 and 5 1/2. Okay, I'm going to turn it and do the length. Now remember, this is 1 inch thick again, so I've got these end sections at 3/4 inch each one. So I'm scoring the other direction at 3/4, 1 1/2, 4 1/2, and 5 1/4. Okay, this time I won't mark with my Sharpie, but again, doing the same thing. I'm going to press out all these score lines. I'm just doing it kind of quick and dirty now this time. I think you're getting the hang of it, I'm sure. Okay, and then in each one of those sections that is here that needs to be pinched, again, I'm finding the midpoint and scoring to each corner to make that V shape. And if you're confused about which way the V points, it points to the outside, but you know, if you look at the box when you have it in this condition where you're just kind of rolling it up and checking it, I mean, you can tell where the pinch needs to be. All right. So that, hopefully this makes it simpler to see. So you're not stuck following dimensions if you need a different size favor. I think these are so cute and versatile. A little harder to see without the Sharpie lines, but of course we don't want those Sharpie lines all the time. All right, so again, doing all 4 of those little V's. And then here's the tab end. I'm going to get my strong adhesive there, fold this over, and then once again, now we're in this shape. It's a thicker box, 1 inch, and we're going to pinch these together. And since we've pressed those nice diagonals in there, we'll have those sharp creases. And this one actually happened to fit. I have from a local chocolate shop these cute little eggs, so I would put that in there and can tape it shut on both ends, or you can tie it shut. But there you have it. Okay, so there's the smaller 6x6 ones, and then here's the bigger one. This started from the 6 and 7 1/2. But play with that. I hope you'll try it. And thanks so much for joining me.